We're here.
Hey.
As I finish my breakfast. Excuse me.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I love it. Good morning, everyone. Drop in the comments what you've done this weekend, what your win was, what you enjoyed, whatever it is. I hope you got to rest, relax, and recharge because we've got a new week ahead of us. And we're going to kick it off with a positive mindset. For those of you who may not know who I am, my name is Nicole Broadhurst, and I'm a former healthcare administrator turned independent patient advocate, CEO of Tennessee Health Advocates, and creator of The Circle, where I help independent patient advocates build sustainable and profitable practices. And on Mondays, my friend Kayla joins me, and we kick off the work week to start in a positive mindset. Kayla, can you introduce yourself just briefly?
Hi, I'm Kayla Thompson Riviere of Heard for Life, independent patient advocate with a focus on medical guidance. Partnering up with Nicole to bring you all this fabulous content every Monday.
Yay! So Kayla, can you review our pillars and then move us right into our quotes?
Well, let me open
the folder because
I don't have them memorized.
Oh, me either. Okay, so while Kayla's looking that up, just so you know, we've been doing this about a year, just a little over a year, and we recently put some real structure. We kind of just kicked it off and started it because it was something that we needed, and we found that there was value for you as well. So, we finally
have 6 pillars. So moving forward, we'll kind of rotate through them every week, and it'll be something related to that. Or you can call it a category. So we've got self-care and boundaries, authenticity and well-being, intuition versus ego / self-awareness, intentionality, goals, achievement, and prioritization, perspective and empathy, compassion, and communication. That's today's. And perseverance, resilience, and adaptability.
I love it. Awesome.
6. Oh, I have 7 fingers up. I don't know what I did.
I don't know. Well, we combined several there, so it may have, who knows. Anyway, we finally decided to put some structure on this, and today's quote, I love it. Kayla, what is it? You'll see it at the bottom of the screen.
Communicate in a respectful manner. Don't just tell your team members what you want, but explain to them why. And that comes to us from Jeffrey Morales of Anheuser-Busch, Business Development Manager.
This is beautiful. So, I don't know. I have had the honor and the privilege to lead teams over my career. And I have to tell you that I grew up in an environment where why was not important. Obedience was important. And it took me, this was a paradigm shift for me to start working with my teams and really getting into the why and the bigger picture. Because every little thing that we do impacts and builds upon and has a bigger picture. And I think that's where folks, but why comes into play. So I love this quote. Kayla, what made you drop it in the spreadsheet for conversation?
That's an excellent question because I was looking at it yesterday and I was like, I don't even remember putting this there. Truth be told. But I will say that I'm going to guess what had happened was I'm a huge proponent of the why. And throughout my career as a bedside nurse, that's been something that's always been top of mind priority for me. Like even to the point where when I'm scanning meds to give them, I say what the medication is and also why the patient is taking it. And there's a couple reasons. Number one, that serves as a double check for me to make sure before I give that med that it is appropriate for the patient. So it's a little bit for me, but also it's mostly for the patient because I also grew up in a similar environment where obedience was paramount. And if you ask questions, you're being a smart ass. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I am a person, if I don't understand why, then I don't care. And I think most people are actually like that. I mean, why should I care? Why should I do that? I don't want to. So there's nothing in it for me. But then when you understand, oh, well, it keeps you from being in heart failure and back in the hospital. Oh, okay. Well, that's important. Then I'll make sure I take that, you know?
Right. Exactly. And it's really, this kind of leads me, I love the story you just said. It keeps me out of the hospital. I had a team, we did private duty home health aid work. And I'll never forget, I had a nurse on my team that explained, and I can't remember the disease process. I probably shouldn't tell this story because I can't remember the disease process. So whatever I say is not, but my point being, I went with her on a home visit and she explained to the patient, whatever his disease process, she put it into an analogy like a car, and how what we put into our bodies is the same as like what level octane gas we put into our vehicles. Anyway, the reason I'm sharing this story isn't about what his disease process was. It was about his reaction and response to her. When she told this story, you could see in his eyes the clarity and understanding of what she was saying. And it changed the trajectory of his care, of his disease process.
Because not only now did she explain why, but also in a way that made sense to him.
Right, exactly. And that was a game changer. It's interesting. I love, and I think this is true across the board, right? It's not just about medical. It's specifically in our world as advocates, it's really important in regards to,
I know.
It's okay.
Playing double duty again today.
Yeah, right? So it's not only important, but it's especially important as advocates that we really think about our communication and make sure that, we're explaining. And I think as advocates, some of this probably comes pretty naturally for us. It's probably how we landed in this role, that we have a desire to, clarify things and make things a little bit easier to understand, and don't really have a problem diving into the why with those that we serve. And at the same time, it's also, we work in this environment where it's easy, or can be, has the potential to be easy to get frustrated, because of all of the barriers and roadblocks and things that we face. And so this is one of the reasons that we do Mindset Monday, is so that we can come in here and go, yeah, you know what? Making sure that I'm communicating in a way that's respectful and easy to receive, and giving everyone I work with a big picture overview of why we do what we do. And that can lead into a whole nother conversation. But I think that we're charged with a lot of communication as advocates every single day.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why we made it one of the pillars.
Right. And so, being mindful of our communication efforts and is really important. And I think that's what this is about. I don't know if I just love that it's Anheuser-Busch business development. It could have been anybody's business development, but I have certainly found that it's true when working with teams, that understanding the why and the common goal really helps everyone stay focused on the purpose and the commitment to success, to meeting that goal or objective.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just how humans are. Like, what we don't want to do, there's no intrinsic motivation to do something if we don't understand why it's important. I mean, we have to, whether we're consciously aware of it or not, we're bombarded daily with requests for our 5 currencies, our time, our energy, our effort, and so on. and we have to make decisions about how we're going to spend those currencies. And if there's something that's a request with no explanation of its importance, it's automatically going to get filtered as something very low priority because it seemingly has no reason. So
Right.
it's you're setting someone up for failure if you don't give them a why. And that's not, you don't have to fire hose them with information. My son is 4, not this one obviously, but anytime we want him to do something, we give him just a snippet of why it's important, why we work together as a family to keep the house running because we all live here, and it makes a difference. It shifts from being part of a team as opposed to being barked at like by a drill sergeant. Being a human instead of being an object.
Yes, so true. There's another thing I wrote down. I grabbed my notes off the printer, but one of the other things that I wanted to really talk about is, I think for me personally, when I shifted into this, helping people understand why as a motivating factor to achieve goals or whatever. One of the things that I personally have found most challenging about this is that a lot of times when I expose the why behind my request, it can feel very vulnerable to me. It can feel like I'm exposing a little bit of myself and around, because a lot of times the why behind my request as a team facilitator has a lot to do with my personal investment in achieving the goal, whatever that is. So for example, as an advocate, my personal motivation for why a lot of times is around getting my client a fair and reasonable financial outcome, right? And so when I talk about the why, I'm opening myself up to, the truth is, I feel like patients get the raw end of the deal a lot of the time. And I have to find a respectful way to say these things and expose myself as like, I think this is the way it's set up is wrong, and I think we need to find a different way, right? Like ultimately that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't believe in the system the way that it's set up, and I want to do it a different way so that my client gets a better outcome. Like that's ultimately what I'm saying. And finding a respectful manner in doing that and opening myself up to the truth of my why can be a little bit scary sometimes, right? Because a lot of folks don't want to won't want to work with me because of that. So it's really, so that's just something I wanted to talk about a little bit about, talking about the why is more important than my fear of the backlash of my why. If that
Absolutely.
and that can be uncomfortable.
And I would actually, I would challenge that mindset and take it a step further to say just the fact that you're showing up and doing this work, you're already challenging the status quo. So if anything, that's the fear is showing up. But your explaining your why is actually your opportunity to shift that perspective and come with human connection as opposed to the surface level, perhaps adversarial kind of viewing.
I love that. And that's exactly why the why is important. Right? Is because it is an opportunity to share and to get things to be a change agent. And that's something we probably need to revisit inside the circle. But we have talked about that before. But I just wanted to share that sometimes I have to do a lot of work around my mindset about sharing my why. And that's why. Oh boy, that was a confusing sentence. Anyway.
Well, and there's probably, I'm guessing too, from you were saying, you were raised in an environment of ask no questions. I think kind of the other side of that is when you do start to provide some why. sometimes a common, I wouldn't say backlash, but perhaps response to that is you're oversharing or you're over explaining. And that can feel uncomfortable to receive that criticism. But like all criticism, take it, look at it. Do you agree with it? Do you think it fits? Do you feel like maybe you were oversharing? And if it's no, then freaking pitch it in the bin. It's not worth anything to you, and move on.
Oh, that's keep moving. I love that. The other thing about that I wanted to kind of talk about was when we do have the courage, right, to show up, be a little bit vulnerable, share our why. It really is kind of the only way to create a positive and collaborative environment for progress. And I think, that for me is my motivation to do this mindset work and, all of the things, because when we do that kind of stuff, it really does encourage others to do that thing, which is what you just said about like the asking the questions. And, it's really interesting. Over the last 5 years, I have really grown a lot and come to appreciate. There was a point in my life where I didn't always appreciate the questions that came when I was willing to come up and share my why and kind of move in that direction. It encourages others to do that too, which means other people are going to have questions, and maybe they're uncomfortable questions. Maybe you have someone who, I have a particular friend of mine in my circle that is my, what do they call that? When devil's advocate, right? And they ask all of those really hard questions. And that used to scare me. That used to really kind of like put me back in my shell a little bit. And today I go to that friend regularly and say, okay, I need to talk through this. Will you do this with me? And it is because she gives me that great feedback and asks those hard questions.
Right.
Like I said, which really creates this positive and collaborative environment where we can make progress, actually make progress, right? And that's really cool. I don't know who else here. Anybody have some experience with explaining why to folks and having it come out with a really good outcome, or maybe not such a good outcome? I mean, maybe it didn't go well and now you're gun shy. I don't know. What are some other things you wanted to touch on with this one?
Well, while we're waiting on comments, I'll just say, I mean, almost universally, whenever I've put in a little bit of why, it makes all the difference in compliance to the request, if you want to boil it all the way down to that. Right. And I mean, truly, it was something they taught us in nursing school. When we bring it back to this kind of medical realm, like most of the time, a lot of the times, if it's not a financial reason, the biggest reason that patients aren't taking their medicine is because they don't understand why it's so important. And I mean, that's totally valid. Like, they show up to the doctor goes, wah, 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 and says, here's these pills. And they're like, they don't make me feel good. So why should I keep taking them? But there's no answer there. So they don't. And then they also don't understand why they're back at the hospital. So when you start to fill in some of those pieces of why, it's like, it's a light bulb. And, maybe you're not getting 100% compliance, but it's certainly improved. Like I said, there's only been a few times where sharing my why has gotten some sort of a negative reaction. And every time it's 100% about that person and not about me.
Ooh, that's a whole nother call. That's a whole nother conversation, right? Cassandra, that's so true. The why does make it personal, right? And it does allow us to connect better.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Again, when you interject the why, you move from this like drill sergeant to soldier dynamic to this person to person level connection. And it just changes everything.
It does. It does. And I think too, especially when we're talking about it in the realm of team members, the human dynamic, my experience with the human dynamic is that you have this leader and you have this hierarchy of the way things work. And when we start talking about the why, it brings it more into the team realm. Right? The we realm. It's really interesting. One of the things that I have noticed over the last, since I've been doing advocacy work specifically, is that in every relationship I have had with my clients, there is no exception to this. Okay. There's no exception in my experience, there's been no exception to this. Every single client relationship that I have had, there has been a point in our relationship when I'm having conversations with them that it moves from the me, I, you, your pronouns into we. Inevitably. And it's there's not, I can't tell you like I'm trying to work into and find exactly where that happens in this journey as a client, because it is a game changer when it comes to this entire why and team and working together to obtain an outcome. It's probably a whole nother call too, but I think that sharing the why really does drill that relationship into a more connected, like you said, Cassandra, a more connected relationship, and allows us to really work together and again make actual progress and
Right. Well, it really serves to kind of help level the playing field, because when it's like request and then looking for compliance, you've got this imbalanced hierarchy where somebody is giving orders and the other person is expected to fulfill them. And when you share the why, you're bringing that person up into your realm of thinking and leveling out that power dynamic.
Oh, yes, very much so. I would be really interested to know if you all, as advocates, are seeing that too. If you've noticed that there's a moment in your client relationship where you go from, hey, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, to we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And if you're feeling that shift in the relationship, because I don't think my experience is an anomaly, but I'd be interested to hear yours and to know if that
I think I
happens for you.
start with that language.
I love that. That's great.
That's great. Just kind of how I am. Like, even now that I'm really thinking about it, like even still working in my job as a bedside nurse, I introduce myself, hi, my name is, and this is why I'm here. But then it's, here's what we are going to do to get you feeling better.
Nice. I love that.
So I think that, I don't know, like that's how I would want to be talked to, especially. And I always try to keep the perspective. For those who don't know, my practice is still getting on its feet. So I do still practice as an emergency room nurse. And I always try to keep in mind that not across the board, but for the most part, people who are coming in the ER, this is by far the worst day they've had this week, if not this month, this year. And sometimes it's the worst day of their lives. So I really pride myself on keeping the mindset of, okay, this is the worst day of their lives. I'm going to make it as good as it can possibly be from there. Like, let's not add insult to injury. And so, like, I introduce myself. I'm always cheery. I talk to them like people. I've witnessed through healthcare, I'm sure other people have experienced this as well. Again, I think some of that power dynamic, I'm the doctor, you're the one in the bed, like they already feel that way. They're naked, okay? Like they already feel that way. Can we give them some respect?
Yes. Right. Absolutely. So true. So true. And so I can't, those, I think I covered like the big things that I had written down that I wanted to do or wanted to chat about. Is there anything left on your list? And if not, what's our call to action this week? I wrote one down, but I don't remember what I wrote down. So there's
Again,
that.
I say this every week. I'm like always surprised. I'm like, oh yeah, we gotta come up with call to action.
Yeah, right. Well, let's see. I did write one down. So let's see. Okay, so just challenge ourselves to share our why this week in a way maybe that we haven't done before. Or like I said, I really love hearing your stories. So if you've shared your
I know
why
that's
and
my
like had
favorite.
this, I know, right? I really love it.
We don't want to
So
just
don't
hear us.
I know, right? We want to hear from you guys too and know what's going on for you. So let's see. As we go into this new week, let's go ahead and challenge ourselves to not only communicate what needs to be communicated, but to also share our why behind it. Like, why are we doing it? Reflect on this approach and kind of share your stories with us in the comments. Patients and families and you know, potential clients, they all need to know what drove us to get into advocacy. What keeps us coming back? I mean, it's hard work.
Agents of
So
change. You should talk about that
that's
again. We don't talk about that enough.
yeah. I agree. I agree. If you don't know what we're talking about inside the circle, there is a recording called Patient Advocates as Change Agents. It's a really great conversation. And I think maybe we will revisit that in the near future and talk more because it's a it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Like it's a
it's the
thing.
most basic component of what we are. We are here because what is currently working is, or the current structure is not working, and so we are inserting ourselves as a new role
Right?
of the healthcare team.
Yes.
And like I say
Yeah.
to people, it's not the answer for the broken healthcare system, but it's an answer.
No, that's
We
right.
our
It
policy
certainly is.
takes years, and people need help now. So here we are.
Right. That's right. I love that. All right. Well, we are up of time, you guys. I'm so excited that you showed up here today. I hope this has been helpful. Drop us a comment, send a message, let us know if this is helpful for you, and tell us about your challenge and challenge yourself this week. What are you going to do this week to share your why and see what the outcome is a little bit more? So for those of you that don't know, we will be here again next Monday,
Every
9 a.m.
Monday.
Eastern.
And
Every
every
Monday,
Monday,
yes.
next Monday, we will be talking about perseverance, resilience, and or adaptability.
Ooh, always good stuff. So show up next week and we'll talk more about this. Hope this was helpful. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.